Hello, I'm Nadia, dietitian and clinical hypnotherapist, and I wanted to chat a little bit about hypnotherapy and how it can be useful for your health and well-being. Now, hypnosis might sound a little bit weird or mystical to people who aren't familiar with it, and I felt exactly the same when I first heard about it and its use in health. I was really confused. Healthcare practitioners are using it in their practice? But then I learned about a study which absolutely blew me away and actually prompted me to study clinical hypnotherapy myself. Now, this research study actually compared gut-directed hypnotherapy to a low FODMAP diet. So what they did is that they had three groups. They had a group that did gut-directed hypnotherapy, a group that did the low FODMAP diet, and a group that did both. And they each did the treatment over 6 weeks with a follow-up at the 6-month mark. Now, what they found is that all three groups had similar improvements in their digestive symptoms. And that just blew me away. I was like, how can gut-directed hypnotherapy be just as effective as a low FODMAP diet, which has really good research for improving IBS symptoms? But what's more is that the group that did gut-directed hypnotherapy had greater improvements in psychological indices such as anxiety and depression. Now, as a dietitian who works with a lot of people with challenging mental health or a challenging relationship with their food or body, I was thrilled to have an alternative treatment that didn't involve any elimination diets for improving gut symptoms or IBS. Fast forward, and it's been almost 10 years since that research study came out, and what we now know is that there's research for clinical hypnotherapy for a bunch of other areas. So these include definitely gut symptoms and IBS, but also chronic pain, anxiety and phobias, menopause hot flushes, and there's currently research underway looking at the role of hypnosis in endometriosis and pelvic pain. Now that makes a lot of sense to me, seeing as we already have the research in pain as well as the research in gut symptoms, and just based on my work with clients one-on-one using hypnotherapy, I've seen that it can be an absolute game changer for people's health. And even though the research stops there, based on my work with clients, I've seen that it can be helpful for a range of other symptoms, things like chronic nausea, chronic fatigue, chronic stress, chronic sleep issues, and even our relationship with our food and body. So at this point, you're probably wondering, what does it look like? How does it work? So hypnotherapy looks very similar to a guided meditation. The only difference is that with a guided meditation, we're focusing on being in the present moment and mindfulness, whereas with hypnotherapy, we're focused on a health goal or a health outcome. We're very results oriented. If you've never done a guided meditation, I will actually describe a hypnotic state as a very similar state to when we're absorbed in a good movie or a really good book. It's kind of like that flow state. The only difference is with hypnosis is that we're listening to a very relaxing audio to get into that state. And funnily enough, it's actually through that deep relaxation that hypnotherapy is so good at putting us into that makes hypnotherapy effective. I don't know about you, but so many of my clients, myself included, we don't spend a lot of time in that deeply relaxed state, but it is in that state that something called neuroplasticity can happen. And that's how hypnosis works. So neuroplasticity is our brain and our nervous system's ability to rewire our neural pathways. Now, I'm working with a lot of people with really chronic conditions or chronic symptoms, meaning that they've been experiencing them for a really long time. And what can happen is that those experiences, those symptoms, those behaviors can get almost wired into our nervous system to the point that they almost become automatic. Whether that be pain or gut symptoms or urgency or anxiety, they get wired in. Now, hypnotherapy and that deeply relaxed state actually supports our body's ability to rewire those automatic neural pathways, leading to improvements in symptoms. It can be personalized, done one-on-one with a practitioner, but it can also be done self-paced, like with an online, more generalized option. And interestingly enough, most of the research is done in the more generalized style of hypnotherapy, so it can be just as effective for many people. So although hypnosis might sound a bit strange, it is deeply grounded in science, and I've seen it to be the missing piece of the puzzle that some people really find beneficial in their healthcare journey. Hopefully that gives you a picture as to how hypnosis might be helpful in your own well-being, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.